What's a realistic way for an average person to become rich? The best advice I ever received in my life. Get good at doing something wealthy people need, and you will always have work. The guy who told me this fixed air conditioning on yachts. No one who can afford a yacht is going to put up with the AC not working, no matter what the current economic situation is like. I agree with Rich, but would add something that anyone needs now. I knew a guy who was a full-time plumber and started his own business, doing nothing but replacing water heaters on an expedited basis. Did most of the calls himself, but would subcontract to keep the wait time low if needed. No one likes to take cold showers. That's a little genius right there. I'm sure he had methods, but I've hand-trucked dead ones up and new ones down. It sucks. Old ones are heavier than the new ones for some reason, but maneuvering a new water tank down winding stairs is a bit hard. Down square spiral stairs. If you can figure out a niche there's demand for, a way to expedite things, and you got the skills, it could be lucrative. Labor tends to be an issue, but you find quality guys or streamline the process so much that it's sterile. Before going back to school around the time COVID began, I worked as a chef on private yachts for some insanely rich people. Money was great, made a little over $100K, Y plus bonuses and solid benefits, and all food and housing was provided. So all of the money that would have gone to rent and living expenses went straight into my pocket. I made the right decision, and I'm happy with my choice to leave the industry for a few reasons. But it'll sting a bit spending a bunch of money on university and likely starting off several years later earning less than I did cooking omelets. Well, I got hit by a semi-truck, lost a leg, and got a multi-million-dollar settlement. Your experience may vary. Early in my career, I worked for an investment firm, and we had a client like that. She'd been in a car accident and won a very large settlement. When she hired us, she explained that she knew we were a fiduciary and wouldn't steer her with bad investment advice. But she also knew that her family was going to suddenly start wanting money, and she wanted to be able to blame her finance guy for refusing to do it. She was a very smart lady. For the rest of my career with that company, we fielded requests from various siblings, cousins, etc. asking for money to pay for crazy shit. We dutifully said no each time, and she thanked us profusely in private meetings later for being the bad guy and helping her get along with them. Of course, it was her money all along. If she directed us to pay for such requests, we would have, and probably lost the relationship eventually. But she held firm, and we understood our real job was to say no. That's how she kept her money intact. Realistically, it takes a long time. You're gonna need a job that allows you to make more money than you spend. Invest at least 20% of that money into index funds, high-interest savings accounts, certificates, etc. consistently and frequently, and let it grow over decades. If you do this and max out your 401k contributions, you'll eventually become a millionaire and have enough to retire. How do you become rich sooner as an average person with an average job? Have rich parents that pass away. This should be the top. Whether or not you studied it in school, educate yourself on finance. I know many blue-collar folks who are millionaires in retirement because they saved and invested wisely. Sure, they may not have been millionaires until they were 50, but after investing properly for 25 plus years, they did it on average salaries in the US and low to mid-cost. Enrich yourself with education and learning new skills, friends, family, and new life experiences like learning about new cultures or trying new foods. The more open and curious you are, the wealthy you will become in more ways than one. The average millionaire becomes one at like age 49, so slowly over time is the normal way. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Ben Franklin. Edit. This comment got some traction, and I'm seeing a lot of people disagree or downplay compounding in the thread. So I want to address some of what I'm seeing. Compound interest alone won't make you wealthy. It's just one of the tools that helps along the way. You need to continually save and contribute to the investment and do it over a long time span of 30 to 40 years. It's important to start as early as possible and keep doing it consistently. Interest in this quote can be interchanged with returns. There are very few fixed interest rate investments these days that will give you proper returns. Low-cost index and bond funds, while reinvesting your dividends, provide compound returns which gives you the same benefit. The compound is the important part of the quote, not interest. Take advantage of tax advantage. Tax-advantaged accounts are some of the best tools available to the everyman to help grow your balance. IRAs, 401k, 403b, HSAs. Learn about all of them and which you can leverage to help you get to your goals. Diversify your investments so nothing will totally wipe you out. You will have up years and down years, but the most important thing is always being able to play. Pay attention to and control your expenses. The two components of being able to save is your earnings rate and your expenses. The net of that is your possible savings rate. It's much more difficult to control and grow your earnings rate than it is to simply lower your expenses. Learning to live off less than you make and controlling your expenses will help you with every aspect of your life. Avoid debt as much as you can. Don't finance a car. Don't use credit cards if you can't pay off the balance in full every month. Don't use any BNPL services. Pay off your mortgage as fast as you can. If you do all of this and consistently save over a decade's long time frame, compounding will take care of the rest, I promise. This is all stuff the average person has access to and can use that will get you wealthy in your life. Yup, my wife and I have been putting money away in our 401ks since they became available to us in the 1980s. You should talk with a financial planner as early as you can, but meanwhile, put as much as you can into your retirement fund. If you have a lot of time until retirement, make sure you go with a growth fund. Low-load exchange-traded funds such as Total Market, S&P, or similar will get you started. Every year on the month you get a raise should increase the percentage of your salary that you invest. If you have access to a Roth plan, do that. If you need to start an IRA on your own, do it. The compounding over our years of savings has been a lifesaver for retirement. It will take a long time to see big dollar, but consistent savings is critical. It depends on how you define being rich. If you're looking at it from being financially secure where you're comfortable, you have to earn more than you spend. If you're looking at it from becoming financially independent, then you'll need to save, invest, and work. If you're looking for money, start a business. Also, if you want a very high chance at losing everything, start a business. It's high risk, but also the highest reward. A buddy of mine started a mobile analytics company and ended up cashing it out to the tune of 8 figures. The founder of the company I currently work for started the company with just him sitting in his apartment. The firm is now worth north of $1 billion. Of course, for every story like these, there's a dozen people that started their own business and it ruined them financially. But yeah, if you want to be rich, starting a successful business is what you need to get there. Have a business myself. I see so many people absolutely ruin their lives. They all do the same, borrow so much money and pretty much make nothing with their investment. At the end, they're stuck with the bill and no assets. Find a job that nobody wants to do and then make a business out of it. My uncle was dirt poor in the 1980s. He won a small settlement when a floodlight caused an electrical fire. With that money, he bought a septic truck and went into business pumping shit. Within a few years, he had a fleet of trucks, and by 2000, he was a millionaire. Get a job at Costco at a young age. Work hard for 30 years climbing the ladder and take full advantage of their 401k. Retire a millionaire. As a current employee, 27 years old, and became a supervisor in a year's time, can confirm. Marry a rich person or someone from a rich family. It's the most important financial decision you can make. Being married, even to non-rich people, can be wealth generating because if managed properly, the cost of living for 2 people is less than the cost of living for 1 person times 2. It gives the couple economies of scale. The problem is that I think far too many people spend too little time assessing the joint problem-solving skills of their partners. How trustworthy are they? And how well do they negotiate? The result is divorce, which is often both financially and emotionally devastating. I think it's important for people to know just how extremely high risk starting a business is, though. 90% of startups fail or go bankrupt within the first 2 to 5 years. And even if it succeeds, less than 1% will get to 7 to 8 figures. These days, there's so many entrepreneur gurus who try to convince people that they can become overnight millionaires. But the reality is that startups are way more work than people think. Not saying you won't succeed, but be really certain you've done your research if you're planning to quit your job. I've seen so many people burn through their savings only to return to the workforce after their startup fails, and they all had great ideas. 90% of startups will fail or go bankrupt within the first 2 to 5 years. More like 99%. With that being said, you should set up the company so that you're not personally liable for its debts. For every story, there's a dozen failures. More like for every success story, there's 100 failures. 1. Make a lot. 2. Save a lot. 3. Marry someone similar. 4. Don't have kids. Spend less than you earn. Invest from an early age. Minimum wage isn't enough to rent a studio apartment. Saving in this economy is a luxury most can't afford. Thank you for watching. Like this video, share your impressions in the comments. See you later.